Hello, everyone, and welcome to ManageEngine's free training on Network Configuration Manager. I'm Ajay. I'm a product expert at ManageEngine Network Configuration Manager, and I'll be presenting today's free training session. If you have any questions during the session, feel free to type them in the chat panel, and a panelist will be happy to assist. So here's the agenda for today's session. First, we'll talk about why you need a network configuration management tool and how ManageEngine Network Configuration Manager provides comprehensive configuration management. Then we'll discuss the additions of Network Configuration Manager, and we'll talk about the requirements for installing the product. Following this, we'll dive into some of the key functionalities of Network Configuration Manager, including device discovery, credential association, configuration backup, viewing configurations, change management, firmware vulnerability management, and disaster recovery. So let's get started. So let's take a look at today's first topic, which is why you need a network configuration management tool. So configurations are considered pivotal for every network organization because a single line of configuration can make or break a network. That's why they need to be monitored effectively to ensure that no unauthorized changes are made. So this is especially difficult in large and growing network infrastructures since users can't manage all the device configurations or compliance changes manually. So without a tool, this could lead to increased security vulnerabilities and human errors. So to avoid this, you need a network configuration management tool, which simplifies the work of network operators and provides functionalities such as minimizing configuration errors, detecting configuration changes in real time, rolling back to trusted configurations when required, ensuring compliance with industry standards like PCI DSS, HIPAA, and SOX, and streamlining the maintenance process. So ManageEngine Network Configuration Manager is a comprehensive network change and configuration management tool specifically developed to manage complex configurations of all your network devices. That includes routers, switches, firewalls, etc. It helps you take complete control of the device configuration management lifecycle. So here I've listed some of the functionalities which Network Configuration Manager includes. So let's start with job scheduling. What is it? So with Network Configuration Manager, you can schedule network operations such as backups, executing configurates, or other tasks. So suppose there are operations that don't need to be performed immediately. Those can be scheduled for the appropriate time using the job scheduling option. So next is configuration comparison. You can configure two configurations. You can compare two configurations from different devices or two configurations from the same device side by side with color coding to improve readability. It also offers real-time change detection so that whenever a configuration change is made on a device, it immediately alerts all network operators. Then we have configuration rollback. It automatically rolls back to the previous baseline version or stable version when enabled, minimizing changes made to critical devices. Next is user-based access control, as well as change review and approval mechanism. So where admins hold the authority. So you can restrict user access for certain operators and provide them access to specific devices or vendor-specific devices. If they make any changes to the devices they've been given access to, those changes go through a review mechanism where the admin is immediately notified. The admin can then approve or reject the change, and the operator will be notified accordingly. So this falls under role-based access control, which will be explained in detail in part 2 of the free training. So next is the policy compliance verification. Network Configuration Manager provides 4 default policies, SYS, PCI DSS, SOX, and HIPAA. Additionally, you can create custom policies from scratch based on your organization's specific requirements. Finally, there's the remote firmware upgrade feature. So using Network Configuration Manager's configurates feature, you can push remote firmware upgrades. So these are some of the key functionalities you can leverage with Network Configuration Manager. Now let's talk about the additions we offer in Network Configuration Manager. So there's 3 of them. There's free, professional, and enterprise. So in the free edition, you can manage only 2 devices. In the professional edition, you can manage up to 10,000 devices. And in the enterprise edition, you can manage up to 50,000 devices. So I'll explain the differences in this next slide. So on the left side, I've listed the architectural diagram for the professional edition. And on the right side, you'll see the architectural diagram for the enterprise edition. So the main difference is that in the professional edition, you can deploy the system to a single server where you can manage the configurations of all your network devices. However, in the Enterprise Edition, if you have your headquarters in one location and branches in various locations worldwide, you can deploy a central server at the headquarters and use probe servers at the branch locations. So this setup allows you to manage the configurations of the network devices in different locations from the central server. This way, the headquarters will be aware of any changes happening to the network devices in all locations, while also reducing deployment costs. So this provides complete visibility, highlighting the key difference between the professional and enterprise editions. So now let's move on to the prerequisites of Network Configuration Manager. So here I've listed some of the minimum system requirements you need to manage 50 devices with Network Configuration Manager. You should have at least a 2 gigahertz dual core processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 100 gigabytes of storage, PostgreSQL or MS SQL database support, and a Windows or Linux operating system. So these are the requirements for managing only 50 devices. If you want to manage more than 50 devices, you can visit the system requirements page for Network Configuration Manager, where we've listed the specifications for managing up to 50,000 devices. So this PPT and the session recording will be shared with you via email once the session is completed, and you can use the links in this PPT to view the system requirements. Now let's go over some of the protocols and ports used in Network Configuration Manager. So the supported protocols include SSH, Telnet, SCP, TFTP, SFTP, and REST API. I'll quickly walk you through the ports as well. So port 69 is used for TFTP, port 22 for SSH, SHCP/SFTP, port 514 for syslog, port 13306 for the database, and port 8060 for HTTPS protocol. So let's move on to the first functionality of Network Configuration Manager, which is device discovery. So here I've provided a short architectural diagram of how SNMP discovery works in Network Configuration Manager. So essentially, the discovery engine in Network Configuration Manager sends an SNMP request to the device, and in response, the device sends back its OID or object ID to the discovery engine. The discovery engine then matches this received OID with the default or custom OIDs available, and if a match is found, the device is automatically added, and the corresponding device template is associated. If no match is found, the device must be added manually. You can also manually associate a device template. The SNMP profiles that we support include version 1, version 2, and version 3. So these are the types of device discovery available in Network Configuration Manager, SNMP discovery, and manual addition. So SNMP discovery is for SNMP enabled or SNMP supported devices. And devices can be discovered in 3 ways. One is by providing an IP address or host name. The second is by providing an IP range. And the third is by importing a CSV file. So now let me show you how this works in the UI. So this is the UI of Network Configuration Manager. So to perform discovery, just go to Settings and Discovery. So here you'll see the 3 types of device discovery methods. The first is using an IP address or host name, where you'll provide an individual IP or host name, select the credential, and then click on Discover, and the device will be discovered. The second is by using an IP range. If you have a set of devices within a specific IP range, you can provide the start IP and the end IP, select the credential, and then click on Discover. And the devices within that specific IP range will be discovered immediately. The third option is by CSV file import. If you have a list of devices that you want to discover, you can place them in a CSV file, import it here, and then click on Discover. And the devices listed in that CSV file will be imported immediately. So we follow a specific format for the CSV file, which I've listed at the bottom of the slide. So this format requires the host name and IP address, the device template name, series, and model for each device. So following this format is essential for the CSV file to be uploaded successfully. So now let's take a look at the manual addition method. So this discovery method is mostly for SNMP disabled devices or for quickly adding devices to your inventory. So I'll show you that in the UI. You just have to go to Inventory, and under Devices, click on Add Device. So here there are two methods. One is Add Device, and the other is importing devices from a text file. So for manual addition, you just provide the host name, the vendor of the device template that needs to be associated, and the series and model if required, and then click on Add. The device will be added along with the device template that you provided. Next is the Import Devices from a text file option. So this works similarly to the CSV file input. You place the devices in a specified format, browse for the file, upload it, and the device will be added to Network Configuration Manager's inventory immediately. So this is the process of device discovery in Network Configuration Manager, which helps network admins easily add the devices to the system and start monitoring them immediately. So here I've listed some of the possible errors that you may encounter while discovering devices in Network Configuration Manager. The first issue that could be that the device is reachable and the SNMP community string is correct, but the network device is still not being added. So there are two potential reasons for this. Either the SNMP read community string is incorrect, or SNMP is disabled on this device. So please verify the read community and ensure SNMP is enabled on the device and then try again. The second issue is when a device's object ID isn't mapped to any of the available device templates, meaning there's no template for that device. If that's the case, go to sysobject ID finder in the settings and add a new sysobject ID to the appropriate device template. Another scenario is when there isn't a default device template available in Network Configuration Manager for a specific device type. In this case, you have a couple of options. You can either add or clone an existing device template that fits your needs, or you can reach out to Network Configuration Manager support and let them know that you need a particular device template, and they'll assist you in getting it sorted out. So now let's talk about device templates. What exactly are they? So essentially, device templates contain all the necessary commands required for a device's functionality. So in a large network infrastructure, there's often a variety of devices from different vendors, each with its own set of configuration commands for tasks such as backups, uploads, and more. So because of this diversity, it's not practical for network administrators to manually track all of these configurations and apply them every time a new device is discovered. That would be a time-consuming and complex process. So instead, they can use the device template feature that's available in Network Configuration Manager. So we provide over 200 device templates that cover over 4,000 different devices and their configurations. So this simplifies things for administrators as they don't have to manually create commands for each device. So by using a device template, you can apply it to your device's configuration and get started quickly. So let's take a look at this feature in the console. So first go to Config Automation and click on Device Templates. So here you'll see a list of available device templates. So from this list, you can view, clone, or export a device template. And we also support REST device templates. So if you click on any device template, you'll be able to see its configurations, such as the backup settings, configuration change detection, and more. So if these configuration commands suit a particular device, you can simply apply the device template to the newly discovered device, and you can start using it right away. So this covers device templates in Network Configuration Manager. We'll take a look at credentials. So here are some of the possible protocol combinations for the backup operation in Network Configuration Manager. So which include SSH, Telnet, SSH TFTP, Telnet TFTP, SSH SCP, SNMP TFTP, SSH SFTP, and REST API. So let's go through some examples of configuration backup using these different protocols. So first is SSH/Telnet. So in this case, Network Configuration Manager initiates the configuration backup command to a specific device. The device then transfers its configuration via SSH or Telnet. And once the configuration reaches Network Configuration Manager, it's encrypted and stored in Network Configuration Manager's database. So second is SSH Telnet with TFTP. So Network Configuration Manager also comes with a built-in TFTP server. So for this method, Network Configuration Manager sends the configuration backup command to the device, and the device transfers the configuration file using TFTP. This file is then sent to the TFTP server where it's encrypted and stored in Network Configuration Manager's database. So next is the SCP server configuration backup. So similar to the TFTP method, Network Configuration Manager sends an SNMP request to the device for a configuration backup. The device transfers the configuration file using TFTP. The file is received by the TFTP server and stored in the Network Configuration Manager's database. So let's go over how to provide credentials in Network Configuration Manager. So first, let's look at a scenario where both a password and an enable password need to be configured. So on the left side, you have the Telnet interface, and on the right, you have the apply credential screen in Network Configuration Manager. So here you need to provide the login name, password, and prompt. So for the enable password type, just select password, enter the enable password, and also set the enable prompt. So this ensures that the system handles both the standard and enable passwords for this device. Now, if you want to directly go into the enable mode without entering an additional password, you can do it in this way. Provide the login name, password, and prompt as usual. And in the enable password type, select password, but leave the password field empty. So this allows you to access the enable mode directly without inputting an additional password. Next, we have the scenario where the enable mode does not require a password. So after entering the login name and password, select no password in the enable password type field and provide the necessary prompt. In this case, the system skips asking you for an enable password and moves on to the next operation smoothly. So there's also a case for an empty enable password. So here, just enter the login name and password as usual. And then in the enable password type section, select the empty password and provide the enable prompt. So when you press enter, it won't ask for a password and it will go straight to the prompt, letting you continue your work without any interruption. So in some configurations, you might have both a username and an enable username or password setup. So after filling in the login name and password, you'll see an option to provide an enable username and enable password as well. So this is useful when devices have more specific credential requirements. So here's an example with a 3COM router where the prompt is set to a colon. So this shows you that you can customize the prompt based on your device's requirements. Network Configuration Manager also supports REST API. So for example, with the pfSense device, you can choose HTTPS as the protocol, set the authentication type to local database, and then provide the username and password. You can also select the configuration file type and click on Save. So this enables REST API support for that device. So lastly, there's support for SSH key authentication as well. So instead of using a password, you can create an SSH key, provide it in the Apply Credential screen, set the appropriate prompt, and proceed with the Enable Password type. So this offers a more secure alternative to a traditional password-based authentication. So now let me show you how this works in the UI. So first click on Inventory, and you'll see a key symbol next to each device. By clicking on this symbol, the Apply Credential screen will appear. So in this screen, you can select the protocol that you want to use, whether it's SSH with TFTP or any other protocol. Then you can enter the login name, a password, and prompt. You can also configure the enable password type based on the device's requirements. And that's how you apply the credentials to the device. And for those using REST API, there's also an option to enable it here and provide the necessary details. And similarly, if you prefer SSH key authentication over a password, you can just select the SSH key you've created and you can complete the initial setup. All right, now let's go back to the PPT. So you might be wondering if you need to create credentials for each device individually. So fortunately, that's not necessary. Network Configuration Manager offers a feature called Credential Profiles. So with this feature, you can create a credential profile once and then associate it with multiple devices as they're added to the inventory. So this saves time and reduces effort while managing credentials across a large number of devices. So let me show you how that works in the UI. So first go to Config Automation and click on Credentials. So here you'll see a list of credential profiles that have already been created. If you want to create a new credential profile, just click on the plus icon. And from here, you can provide a name and description for the profile. For example, if it's SSH, you can enter the login name, password prompt, and any other necessary details. And once you've filled in all the required fields, simply click on Save, and the credential profile will be stored. And this newly created profile will appear in the device discovery screen, where you can select it to proceed with discovering the device. So we also have something called credential rules. So this simplifies the process of associating credentials with devices. So with credential rules, you can create rules based on specific criteria, such as IP range, protocol, and credential profile. So when a device is discovered and the credential rule is enabled, Network Configuration Manager automatically assigns the appropriate credential profile to that device if it meets the criteria defined in the rule. So let me show you that in the UI. So here you can see the credential rules section. So by clicking on the plus symbol, you can create a rule with a name and description. And you can specify criteria like an IP range, IP address or IP range. You can select a vendor, choose a protocol such as SSH, and you can associate the credential profile. So once set, whenever a device within this IP range that matches the criteria is discovered, the SSH protocol and the selected credential profile will be automatically applied to that device. So that's how credential profiles and rules work in Network Configuration Manager, making it easier for network admins to apply credentials to devices efficiently. So one of the possible errors that you might encounter during credential association in Network Configuration Manager is when the TFTP or SCP servers haven't been started. So if you face this issue, you should check the server status in Network Configuration Manager server settings. So let me show you how to do that in the UI. So just navigate to Settings, General Settings, and Server Settings. So here you'll be able to view the running status of your various services, like the TFTP server, the syslog server, etc. And you can see them. You can see here that they're all running. If any of them shows as not running, you can easily stop and restart the service and then try again. So before we move on, I'd like to let you know that if you're interested in a more in-depth and personalized demo of Network Configuration Manager, you can let us know by answering a poll, which our panelists will share momentarily. So now let's go back to the PPT. Now, Network Configuration Manager offers 3 ways to perform backups. So one is instant or bulk backup, syslog-based automated backup, and scheduled backup. So let's start with instant or bulk backup. So if a new device is discovered in your inventory, you can select the device and click on backup, and this will immediately back up the configuration for that device. You can also perform this action for multiple devices at once. So let me show you how to do that in the UI. So from the inventory screen, just select the number of devices that you want to back up. Just click on the 3 dots icon and select backup. And once you click on it, the backup operation will begin and the device configurations will be stored. So now let's move on to real-time change detection. which utilizes syslog-based automated backup functionality. So here's how it works. Whenever a change is detected in a network configuration manager, it automatically triggers a configuration backup. So for example, if a user logs into a device, makes some changes and then logs out, a syslog logout message is sent to network configuration manager. Upon receiving this, network configuration manager compares the current configuration with the previous version. So if any changes are found, the new configuration is saved as a new version, and if not, the backup is discarded. So I'll show you how that works in the UI. To enable change detection, just select the device, click on the three dots icon, and click on Enable Change Detection. Then you can click on Save or Update to apply the setting. So here are some of the possible errors that you might encounter during the change detection process. So one is syslog not supported for a particular model. So in this case, you can manually configure the syslog settings on the device, or you can contact Network Configuration Manager support for assistance. The other is no changes are detected even when a change detection is enabled. So this could occur due to a mismatch and Network Configuration Manager, or if the Network Configuration Manager syslog server is not running. So as mentioned earlier, you can check the status of the syslog server in Network Configuration Manager server settings. Now let's talk about a scheduled backup. So for devices that require continuous and regular backups, remembering to perform these backups at specific times can be challenging for network admins. So fortunately, Network Configuration Manager offers a configuration backup scheduling feature. So with this, Network Configuration Manager automatically performs these backups according to your set schedule and sends you a report when the backup is complete. So here's how that works in the UI. So let's go to Config Automation, click on Schedule. You can click on the plus icon to create a new schedule. Ensure that the schedule type is set to Configuration Backup. And next, you can select the device group as specific devices that you need to back up. And in the report notification section, you can choose to either receive the report via email or save it directly in Network Configuration Manager. So this way you can review the report immediately after the backup or access it in Network Configuration Manager later. So you'll also find several scheduling options such as hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or once. You can select the option that best suits your requirements and configure the schedule accordingly. So this is how you set up scheduled backups in Network Configuration Manager. So now let's move on to some potential issues that might occur during scheduled backups. So if a failure occurs, it could be due to a variety of issues such as changed or invalid credentials. So if that happens, you need to verify that the device credentials are up to date and try scheduling the backup again. It could also be due to blocked ports or servers not started. So if that's the case, ensure that the necessary ports are open and that the TFTP or SCP server is running. It could also be due to large configuration files. So for large files, just adjust the timeout settings in the device template and retry the backup. And another reason could be unsupported backup commands. So if that happens, if the device template includes unsupported commands, edit the commands in the template or choose a more suitable template for the device's backup needs. So by troubleshooting these common issues, you can resolve backup failures in Network Configuration Manager effectively. So now let's move on to viewing configurations, starting with comparing configurations. So in Network Configuration Manager, you can easily compare two configurations, either from the same device or from different devices side by side. So this comparison feature is color-coded for clarity. Added lines will appear in green, modified lines will appear in purple, and deleted lines will appear in pink. So let me show you that in the UI. So to view the changes in a specific configuration, I'll just go to inventory. Just click on the device. And here at the bottom, yeah, just click on the device, and at the bottom, you'll see a list of configuration changes. So for example, if you want to compare changes in any version, you can just click on it, and you can compare the changes in a version of a configuration file. So here you can see that compared to the previous version, for one line was modified, and compared to the baseline version, 46 lines were modified. So to view the exact differences, you can just click on one of these circular icons. And this opens a detailed view that highlights the added, deleted, and modified lines. So this shows the modified lines. If you want to see the added lines, just click on the green box, and all the modified lines, all the added lines appear in green. And if you click on the pink box, all the deleted lines appear in pink. So this diff view provides a clear breakdown of all the modifications, making it easy to locate specific changes, even with thousands of lines of configuration code. So that's how it empowers network admins to manage and track configuration changes efficiently. So let's move on to the next topic, which is baseline configuration. So baseline configuration is a stable version of the device configuration marked as reliable for quick recovery during unexpected network incidents. So in Network Configuration Manager, once a version is labeled as baseline, it serves as the fallback option in the event of a disaster. So this allows you to rapidly restore your network to a more stable and known good state by uploading this baseline version. So let me show you how to label a version as baseline in the UI. So if you want to set any configuration as a baseline version in the UI, simply click on that version, click on the hamburger icon here, and just select Set as Baseline. And this will mark that version as the baseline. So now let's say there's an error with the device and you need to upload a stable configuration. So to do this, go to Inventory, just select the device, click on the three dots, and select Upload Configuration. So when you're uploading the configuration, the version that you labeled as baseline will appear as an option for both the startup and running configurations, depending on which one you marked. So if you just click on Upload, the baseline version will be uploaded immediately, stabilizing the device. So this covers both setting a baseline configuration and uploading configurations. Here's a possible error that you might encounter during a configuration upload. So one is that we don't support the upload feature for this device. So common causes for this error could be that the Telnet or SSH protocol is being used, which does not support uploads. So to resolve this, you can edit the credentials to use SSH TFTP or SSH SCP, depending on the device. Another possible cause is when the SCP TFTP protocol is used, and while the device vendor supports it, the NCM device template does not have the upload commands for that specific device. So in that case, you can either clone an existing device template or create a new one, or you can contact Network Configuration Manager support for assistance. So here's another example of an error that might occur during an upload failure. A common cause could be a command timeout. So you can check the timeout settings in the device template and try the upload again. Also, based on the protocol being used, you can ensure that the TFTP or SCP server is running correctly by verifying the server settings. So let's move on to the next topic, which is startup and running configuration sync. So this is a crucial functionality in a network organization because the running configuration should always be in sync with the startup configurations. So all changes are typically made to the running configurations. If a device shuts down or reboots unknowingly or accidentally, any changes made to that device will be lost if they're not synced with the startup configurations. So therefore, whenever a change is made to a device, it should always be synchronized with the startup configurations. So Network Configuration Manager helps by detecting conflicts between these configurations and can automatically sync them to ensure consistency. So let me show you that in the UI. So on the inventory screen, you'll see a column showing the configuration conflict status. So when a conflict is detected, simply select the device. Select the device, click on the three-dot icon, and select Sync Configuration. This action will immediately sync the running configuration to the startup configuration, and that will resolve the conflict. So that's how startup and running configuration sync works in Network Configuration Manager. Let's talk about some possible errors that you might encounter during this process. So one possible issue is that when a change occurs, but the startup and running conflict is not detected by Network Configuration Manager in real time. So a common cause for this could be that the real-time change detection is disabled. So to fix this, enable change detection for the device if syslog is supported for it. And if syslog is not supported, then the startup and running conflict will only be detected and reported after the next successful scheduled or manual backup option. So moving on to change management, which is another important feature of Network Configuration Manager. So this feature allows you to view all the changes made to the device and automatically sync changes to different configuration versions. You can track the who, when, and what of each change. You can get a historical trend of changes for a device and also see the number of modified, deleted, or added configuration lines. So one of the most important features in change management is the ability to receive change notifications and roll back to previous configurations when necessary. So let me show you how to set that up in the UI. Go to Config Automation and click on Change Notifications. So here you'll see a list of any existing change notifications. To create a new one, you can click on the plus symbol. So here you'll need to provide a notification name and description. Next, you can select the configuration type, whether it should apply to any change specific to running configuration, startup configurations, or any custom configuration. Then choose the change type, whether it's an authorized or unauthorized change. The criteria you set, which will determine which notifications are sent. And you can also choose the notification medium, email, SNMP trap, syslog, or a ticket. For example, if you select email, if you select email and a change is detected on a device associated with this notification, a Network Configuration Manager will immediately send an email to the specified recipient notifying them of the change. So now let's discuss the rollback option. So this feature is useful for devices when you want to revert to a previous configuration without making critical changes. So to enable the rollback functionality, just select whether you want to roll back to a previous version or a version labeled as the baseline. So how it works is when a change is detected on the associated device, it will automatically roll back to the selected version, ensuring that the unauthorized or unintended changes are reversed. So now let's talk about firmware vulnerability management. So this feature in Network Configuration Manager is designed to help you manage and address firmware vulnerabilities effectively. So here's how it works. Network Configuration Manager receives daily updates from the National Vulnerability Database, or NVD, as well as from other major vendors like Cisco and Fortinet. So this daily update keeps the vulnerability database in Network Configuration Manager current. So when the database is updated, it identifies and lists the devices that are vulnerable, including details such as CVE IDs and base scores. So these details help you understand the severity of each vulnerability. Once you have this information, you can click on the provided links to apply the necessary patch fixes. So let me show you that in the UI. So there's a dedicated tab for firmware vulnerabilities where you can view all the detected vulnerabilities. So in this tab, the listing format includes the CVE ID, the base score, the device count, indicating how many devices are affected by each CVE ID, and the reference URLs. So these URLs provide detailed information about the CVE ID and the instructions for applying the patch fixes. So here we have the Exposed Devices tab. This section lists the host name, the vendor, the version, series, and model of devices. So for example, if a specific vendor, series, and model shows multiple vulnerabilities, you can see a detailed count of the affected devices. So for instance, let's take this Fortinet device here, version 4, 50 model 51B. You can see that it has 25 vulnerabilities, and if you just click on it, you can view each and every one of these 25 vulnerabilities. So lastly, there's the version distribution tab. So this shows how many vulnerabilities are associated with a specific vendor's version and how many devices are running in that version. So this allows you to quickly assess how many devices are affected by vulnerabilities in a given version and prioritize the patch fixes based on the severity. So now let's discuss the Sync Vulnerability DB option. So this feature updates the vulnerability data from sources like NIST and other vendors to the Network Configuration Manager's database every day at 3 a.m. You can customize this timestamp to fit your needs. If you're working with a closed network, you also have the option to manually upload CVE details. So let me show you how that works. So here, if you navigate to the Sync Vulnerability DB tab and select Manual Import. So here you can upload the file containing the vulnerability data and provide the checksum to import it. So this method ensures that the vulnerability data is available even when the database sync is not performed. So for closed networks, we have a dedicated help page where you can download the necessary file and checksum. Just provide the link, just follow the link provided, download the file, upload it here, enter the checksum, and import the data. So next we have the advanced CVE search. So you can enter a CVE ID into the search field to get detailed information and all the related reference URLs. So this covers firmware vulnerability management features in Network Configuration Manager. So now we'll move on to disaster recovery. So when a disaster recovery event occurs, the primary issues that you face may include degraded network performance, network outages, and potential security breaches. So to mitigate these risks and be well prepared, you should implement several strategies. So one is baseline configurations. So you can establish a baseline configuration for every device to ensure that it's secure and free from vulnerabilities. Next is syncs startup and running configurations. So you can regularly synchronize startup and running configurations to prevent any configuration drift. You can also change notifications and rollback. So you can set up change notifications and enable rollback for critical devices to quickly revert to a stable state if needed. You can export configurations. So you can export the device configurations to your system for future reference. And there's also database backup, where you regularly back up your network configuration database. So we've already covered the first 3 points. Now let's look at how to export configurations and back up the database. So you can export the configurations of the selected devices to a destination on your system, ensuring you have a backup in case of a disaster. So let me show you how you can do that in the UI. So just go to Settings, Global Settings, and Export Configuration. So here you can choose the export frequency, never, daily, weekly, or monthly. And you can select the specific time and date of the import or of the export. You can also choose to opt to receive a notification via email on completion. You can enter the email address where you'd like to receive this notification. And then you can select the specific devices or device groups that you wish to import. For example, if you want to export configurations for a Cisco or for device group, you can select it here. And finally, you can select the destination where you want to save these configurations. So just browse to the desired location, select it, and click on Export Configuration now. Next topic is database backup. So database backup involves creating a backup of Network Configuration Manager's database. So you can schedule this backup to occur monthly or weekly, directing it to a specific backup directory for future use. So let me show you how that works in the UI. Just go to Settings, General Settings, and Database Backup. So here you can enable the backup option and choose the frequency, monthly or weekly. You can select the desired date in the backup directory. And for added security, you can also provide a password to protect the backup file. And once you've configured that, just click on Save. So this covers the database backup feature in Network Configuration Manager. So that's about it for part one. So this is a very brief demo on Network Configuration Manager's capabilities. However, if you'd like to get a more in-depth and personalized demo of the product, please answer the poll which is shared in this session, and our product experts will reach out to you and help you set up Network Configuration Manager for your enterprise network. They'll also be happy to answer any doubts or queries that you might have. So if you're already a Network Configuration Manager customer, you can receive a $25 gift card by leaving a review. And if you're satisfied with this, so if you're satisfied with the service, please provide your review using the link provided by our panelist. Also, we're excited to announce the integration of Network Configuration Manager with PAM 360. So this provides a unified platform that centralizes credential management, automates a credential rotation and rotation in syncs, and enhances your security posture. So if you want to learn more about this integration, you can just follow the link that our panelists will share in the chat. I'm also pleased to announce that Network Configuration Manager is now FIPS compliant. Our panelists will share a link to the page detailing our FIPS compliance so you can learn more about it. So in part two of our free training sessions, we'll cover config-lets, compliance, role-based access control, and reports. So the topics will include scheduling CLI config-lets, general config-lets, compliance features, role-based access control, notification alerts, and report generation. Also, if you liked this presentation and found it useful, please do take a moment to rate the presentation in the poll shared by our panelist. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you in part two of Network Configuration Manager's free training sessions. Have a great day.